What's good, everybody? Welcome to another broadcast here for Fast Break, live on IE Sports Radio, your read for always sports. On tonight's show was Locke. We called it the WNBA Finals was a sweep. The Las Vegas Aces win 4-0 against the Phoenix Mercury. 3 titles in 4 years. Your thoughts on it, or you calling your shot on that?
Well, I think, like I said, I think this team Aces was just destined for having a dynasty. It looked like it was headed that way. AJ Wilson was doing extremely well, MVP of the league and finals. So it just seemed like it was down happening. And that clutch shot in Game 3, I think that was a dagger into Mercury, not only in that big Game 4 as well. So, but congratulations to the Aces. That's a huge win.
Yeah. Congratulations to the Las Vegas Aces. Shout out to Becky Hammond, 3 titles in 4 years, in which, she was kind of, I don't say pushed towards that way, but we'll discuss more of that here in a little bit. And also, D-Locke, we previewed the NBA Western Conference. 1 to 15, we give our preview predictions from who's going to be at the top and who's going to be at the bottom, preseason rankings for our teams in the West in the upcoming NBA season. But we'll dive into that and much more here on the show tonight, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for tuning in. We're going to do a couple commercial breaks. Then after that, we'll catch you on the other side.
IE Sports Radio fans, this show is brought to you by Planet Jerky Premium Brisket Beef Jerky. Planet Jerky is the official jerky of the 2022 California League champion Lake Elsinore Storm, Single A affiliate of the San Diego Padres. This all brisket jerky has gluten-free options, contains no MSG, no sodium nitrate, is low in sugar, and high in protein. Go to their website at planetjerky.net and follow them on Instagram at Planet Jerky. Planet Jerky, the jerky that's on a whole other planet.
Rise and shine. It's 4 a.m. The stars are still out. The sun is beneath the horizon, but it's time to punch in and go to work. The comfort of your warm-ups turns into the grinding out of your reps as the clinking and the clanking of the plates create a symphony of euphoria. There's no other feeling like it. Earn it, burn it, and take what's yours. IE Sports Radio has proudly partnered with Vital Apparel, a brand that not only fits great, but also promotes and donates to mental health research. Use our code IESR to get 15% off their comfortable and inspiring gym wear and help them on their amazing journey to support mental health. Go hard, take part in your iron therapy, and be strong. Because when your mental health is as strong as you are, there's no telling how far you'll go.
Oh, make it a little bigger. Oh, damn, it's too big. Oh. There we go. All right. We're in here. Thank you for tuning in with us here tonight, ladies and gentlemen. Got another bang up show for y'all tonight. Ooh, God, I had this YouTube thing going. All right. But thank you for tuning in with us tonight, ladies and gentlemen. There's another episode here or broadcast here for Fast Break here on iSports Radio. Your week for always sports. Lots to talk about, lots to get into here on the net show tonight. But do us a favor. You're new to the show. Do follow us on X at Fast Break at IESR. That's Fast Break IESR. Our handles are right there. We'll promote those a little bit more towards the end of the show here tonight. But D-Locke, first things first. WNBA Finals talk. The Las Vegas Aces. Las Vegas sweeps the Phoenix Mercury 4-0. You called your shot last week. You know, I thought there's like a puncher's chance that Phoenix could win a game at home, but it didn't happen. You know, look back at game 3, Asia Wilson, you know, hit the game winner to secure that. Then look into game 4. Alyssa Thomas went out with a shoulder injury, but came back. But just like a series of bad events happened for the Mercury, for the Aces to win in that matchup this past Friday. Pull the stat line real quick. I had it up just here just a second ago. But once they get on the WNBA, they just put their stuff way deep. But look at the Aces back on Friday. Asia Wilson, 31 points, 9 rebounds, 4 assists for her, 3 blocks for her, 17-19 at the free throw line. Very key right there. Gray had 18 points as well, 4 for 9 for 3-point land. 18 points for Young as well. 8 assists for her. And like I mentioned about the bench, we talked before the show about the bench. 12 points for Jewel Lloyd, 10 points for Dana Evans. So 22 off the bench for them. And you look at the other side of things. Yeah, the Mercury bench outscored them, but I think the bigger impact came from the Aces early in that first half in the fourth in game 4. And then for the Phoenix, Copper, who's kind of been kind of like the bright spot for the Mercury in this finals run. 30 points for her, but she fouled out in that fourth quarter. Alyssa Thomas, 17 points, 12 rebounds, 10 assists, but 9 turnovers, though, in that finals matchup. So, D-Locke, the Aces, they win their 3rd championship in 4 years. You saw the changes that this team did. Kelsey Plum, gone. Other changes around the roster. They didn't get out to the best of start in the upcoming this past season. But now, you know, after kind of the All-Star break, they kind of turned things around. Asia Wilson turned more into a beast, and they win their 3rd championship in 4 years. Your thoughts on the finals between the Mercury and Aces? And then I ask you another question on the back end is after you get done.
Well, to be honest, I think Asia Wilson MVP has been playing lights out all season. You know what I mean? She's been playing, having those clutch moments. Big clutch shot that we see she put up, game 3. We've seen her do that numerous times throughout this whole season. So it just was, I think, the perfect season for her. She's also being considered already as one of the greatest players of all time. So for me, I think that for her to close out, for her to play a huge impact with this team is that dynasty, that they're talking about. And I think they deserve it. You know what I mean? Even looking at game 4, like I said earlier, in the previews, I think that shot, her around the world, game 3, really put a dagger into this Phoenix Mercury team. Not only just game 3, but game 4 as well. It gave the Aces their momentum, their boost to close it out in 4. But even looking at it, I mean, the Aces, they led this game, damn near the whole game 4. They ended the first quarter with a 9-point lead already. And usually when the team is down 0-3, as we've seen a lot of NBA games, teams play a hell of a lot harder, or it just looks a little bit different first quarter, second quarter. I mean, right now, as tough and as hard as Phoenix played, the Aces were just a better team. They came out ready. Like I said, Wilson came out firing. Chelsea Gray, she came out on point as well. But obviously being led by Asia Wilson, this Aces team did everything they needed to get it done. You know, she put them on her back, and they got it done. I mean, Joel Locke came in. They had good, had a good game in the 4th game. But to me, I think this team was overall the better team. Like I said, you have the MVP there, and making clutch shots that they needed. She was the one that led this team. As we can see throughout this series, this team just was head and shoulders above Phoenix Mercury. And I just think, like I said, this team is destined to be a dynasty. So to me, I think, like I said, congratulations to the Aces. I think this is a well fought win. But now this team looks like one of the greatest of all time, not only in WNBA but in sports history.
I think it's great they're getting their love. I mean, earlier today, I was watching the Titans Raiders game. They got honored at the Raiders game. They like to torch all that stuff, so they were doing that and stuff like that. So, and of course, Mark Davis on the team as well. So, I mean, why not promote your winning team
right
in front of the big stage like that? But they got honored there at the game today. Like you mentioned about game 3, that game 3, the reflection's killing me. But that game 3, really, that dagger really kind of took Phoenix's soul in a sense. And for her, A'ja Wilson to put her team back and make that shot over 2 defenders, chef's kiss.
Right.
Because let's be honest, Phoenix had a whole bunch of momentum comeback. And you think, you thought with Becky Hammond going small, in game 3 and game 4, it might fight her in the ass. But, it almost did in game 3. Game 4, not so much. I mean, Phoenix did try to make a little comeback, but like I mentioned before, like a series of unfortunate events has kind of happened to them, kind of neglect that. But I think for them to win this 3rd championship in 4 years, this kind of speaks volumes of a job Becky Hammond has done.
Mm-hmm.
I talk about, we've been on the show for a few years now. I brought up years ago that she should at least got to look at an NBA head coach.
Yeah.
We're being real, like she paid her dues with Popovich the years, and I know she got that interview with Milwaukee, but nothing really came out of that. But it's just like, you were kind of waiting for her to get that NBA job, but it never really happened. But she went to the WNBA. It really kind of transformed that franchise into something great. We're talking about the WNBA cornerstones over the years. Those Houston Comets teams that are very dominant over the years. And then, the Sparks had a mini run in between there. And then after that, the Minnesota Lynx.
Mm-hmm.
We got Maya Moore, Simone Augustus, they got rolling there. And then kind of after that, we kind of just, I don't say all over the place, but you had the Mercury there for a little bit, but it really never felt like they never grabbed the bull by the horn in a sense to be really dominant, because there's always like some issue that came up with them, personnel wise, that kind of hampered them to be more dominant than they should. Like Brittany Griner should have been more dominant than she should with Diane Taurasi and others. And now, since this team moved from San Antonio to Las Vegas, and getting Asia Wilson, Becky Hammond in the fold, now you're rolling. Kelsey Plum and others that have been a part of this run as well. So, at the very beginning of the WNBA, when it started, Houston Comets, their dominance. Now, you're seeing this other team now that kind of like that's taking over that dominance as well. And you got a player in her prime that, that show no signs of slowing down. Your team is in a prime location. And you got a beautiful practice facility there. You play in a great arena. So things are looking great for the Aces right now. Could use a little more size, on that side of things. But I'm just thinking this team could go back to back again.
True.
And I don't know what happens with New York Liberty and their coaching search. I'm still puzzled about that firing as well. But Liberty will be back in the fold of things. The Mercury, Nate Tiblet did a great job. I think they'll be back in the swing of things as well. The Fever, that's a team to kind of keep an eye on for next year. And it took the Aces to the max.
Mm-hmm.
And I think, to me, one thing Caitlin Clark's got to work on, her maturity.
That's big.
We know she can play, but her maturity, when she's at the games and stuff, sitting on the bench, it's like you on a bench. You should be, flagging for calls, all that type of stuff, like you're playing. It's great that you're into the game, but sometimes you gotta learn how to fall back. And I think if she can learn how to fall back a little bit, kind of be more infused with the team, I think that Fever team could be very dangerous next season. So those teams there, I think they'll be in contention. I'm curious what's Golden State. Granted they made the playoffs, they still, they got ways to go, all that. Connecticut, I think they're still moving to Boston, if I got that right. We'll see how that still holds. The Sparks, I think for the Sparks, I think just give them time.
Yeah.
Rika Jackson, Cameron Brink, Kelsey Plum, Bianca Hamby. If they can find a little bit more size, I think they'll be a playoff team next year. Atlanta, if they keep everybody, I think they could be back into contention. So a lot of good teams. You got the new ones coming in. A lot of teams could be in contention for the title. But if y'all can slow down, the Aces slow down, Asia Wilson, then the title's yours. But until then, and you got Coach Becky Hammond. Until then, you do that, the title's yours. Your thoughts before I get to my question to you.
I agree with you. I think Asia Wilson is in her prime. She's going into her prime, and this team looks very much one of the best teams we've ever seen. To put that dynasty together, we've seen the 90s Cowboys, the Yankees. I think in the early 2000s, the Lakers in the 2000s, the Spurs. The Spurs and the Sparks is what I meant in the 2000s. So you have teams that put the dynasty together, and this team looks like one of them. And I think this team is one of the better teams that we've seen play together. So I think that it's going to be hard to put, to stop this team. They have a good chance to repeat. But again, like you said, the Fever has a few things that they got to work on. I just think that again, Asia Wilson, I think she's still going to come back as the best player in the league next year. So what do teams do to stop this team? What can they do? So right now, like I said, as long as they don't have any big-time injuries, I think that Aces is going to be one tough team to beat next year and the years to come as long as they have Asia Wilson.
Yeah, it's going to be a tough team to beat, and I'm kind of curious who they add along with that come next season. But I think the major thing to kind of we're going to talk about over the course of the next several months is the CBA. What happens with that? So I think that's another thing we're going to talk about. We ain't done the NBA. I think the CBA talks is going to be one thing that's going to be talked about heavy here on this show and hopefully other places to give its proper due and diligence to see the future of the league. Let me ask you this before we take our first break. Where do you rate Asia Wilson among the WNBA greats? So we're talking about Lisa Leslie, Cynthia Cooper, Cheryl Swoops, Tina Thompson, Diana Taurasi, Rebecca Lobo, Teresa Revanspoon, Simone Augustus, Maya Moore, Diana Taurasi, Sue Bird, Candace Parker, Brianna Stewart, Yolanda Griffith. Oh, I think I missed a few others, but you kind of get the gist of it. Where do you rank her after this title win among the greats in basically women's basketball? But let's keep it in WNBA. Will you rank her among the WNBA greats?
I probably definitely, in my mind right now, obviously Cheryl Swoops was amazing. Lisa Leslie, as we all know the most of. Maya Moore, more recent. I probably have her top 10. And it's very hard to, like I said, looking at some of the people we talk about, Cynthia Cooper, like I said, Tamika Catchings, obviously Taurasi. Yeah, so it's athletes that we've seen come out of the WNBA, and it will be more moving forward, as we talked about, as far as the WNBA. But I definitely have her top 10. I think that I won't put her in front of Lisa Leslie yet. I think Cheryl Swoops is obviously one of the greats as well. Sue Bird is the one that I'm kind of looking at, like she's probably in that range in that top 10 range. But right now she's doing things that is showing how much of an impact she's making. I mean, just looking at the stats from this not only this season but the NBA Finals, like she led in almost every category. I don't think the Aces are where they are if it really wasn't for her. And obviously it's a team sport, we get that, but she played a huge part. And that's what we see a lot of in the NBA when we're talking about a Kobe, LeBron. So to me, and Lisa Leslie, we talk about also. So to me, I think that she's definitely top 10. I mean, it's hard for me to, and she's creeping up into that slowly getting that top 5. It's going to come, I think, like I said, we have this conversation a year from now. They won another title. Now we're starting to say, damn, you know what I'm saying? Like now we really starting to see her move, above the Cheryl Swoops. You know what I'm saying? Obviously, Laura Jackson is one of the better players as well. So for me, it's like, you have her up there and she's going to continue to rise. So it's tough to, like I said, I'm not going to disrespect the ones we've seen prior to her. The Candace Parkers, the Lisa Leslie's, those top ones. But I think that she's definitely put her name in the breath of those top caliber WNBA athletes and greats. Because right now, like I said, you mess around next year and we're talking about 4. Oh man, you know what I mean? Like now we might have to put you in that top 5.
Yeah, you mentioned other names like Lauren Jackson. I forgot about her. The Okumage twins. I forgot about them as well. Swing Cash. Elena Della Dome, even though I think it sucks that she kind of tapped out early. I mean, I don't say early in the career, but I hate how she tapped out. But, right now she's top 5 to me. You mentioned some other names I forgot about, but some of the other names kind of just, once they turn like 30, they kind of just went away. 30, 31, they kind of went away. And I know a lot of these ladies don't play deep to their 40, like late 30s and stuff like that. But some of the others you mentioned, like some of them kind of went away and stuff like that. But for her, who's gonna stop her?
Yes.
Who can match up with her? Who can match up like physically with her? I mean, you got, maybe like a Leah Boston with the Fever. I think she's slowly getting there. In time, she'll get there. But, just like right now for me, top 5 right now, along like with Lisa Leslie, Swoops and Cynthia Cooper. And then I put Taurasi in there just for, damn. I hated that Maya Moore retired so early.
Yes.
Because damn, that's like she left a lot of meat on the bone.
Yep.
But she still be my top 10, but I can't put her top 5. That'd be one of those one ifs. It's like if she stay playing, are we talking like the Minnesota Lynx, like one of the more dominant teams ever in pro sports? But I put Diana Taurasi there just for longevity reasons. But I think, down the line, I think some upper guards where he clips her in terms of success. We got Caitlin Clark, Paige Bucher's coming down the pipe, Juju Watson coming down in a couple of years. So those ladies, Hildado for Notre Dame when she gets in the league, I think those ladies got potentially can eclipse Diana Taurasi in success. Not right now. I mean, we got a long way to go.
Right.
We got to see who Dallas hires as a new head coach. Like I mentioned about Caitlin Clark, her maturity, how she matures, in the game of basketball, stuff like that, and how she develops and all that stuff, and how she holds up in the league too. That's another thing as well. So, but those 5 ladies I got in my top 5 of top WNBA players all time. If I finish up my top 10, Candace Parker would be on there. Sue Bird, Lauren Jackson. I had to add Maya Moore. And then number 10, that's tough. Maybe Breanna Stewart.
Yeah. That's where it gets real tough at there.
And then you got a lot of folks on the outside looking in, like Tina Thompson, Becky Hammond, Simone Augustus, and others kind of on the outside that top 10 that you could put in there, but it's like, it's kind of hard to put y'all at the moment because a lot of y'all kind of retired early. A lot of y'all were great players, but played for sorry franchises for a long time. So it's kind of tough, man. It's just tough. But I think Asia Wilson, to wrap this up, I think she's one of the all-time greats of the WNBA. She has helped grow the league, her play, and they finally got around to kind of promote her more with the Nike shoes, the statue at South Carolina, and then the relationship with her boyfriend Ben Adebayo. I think that's kind of great. To put that more on the spotlight.
Yeah,
if you really think about it. 2 all-star players together. That's almost a damn near the same height.
Yeah, we seen that yesterday.
The love they have for each other. So, it's just great all around for her going right now. Great for her. Olympian. One of the great Olympians of all time. And, we saw the past Olympics, she's helped seal the deal there or her play. So she's top 5 to me.
Yeah.
Her success, the 3 out of 4 championships with the Aces. And I think, they got a good chance to repeat for next year. I'll let you have the last word.
Like I said, I think that she definitely is, creeping up in that range. But also, I think she clearly puts her name in that range of top 3, top 2, top 3 if they win another championship next year. And I mean, we could say it now, but obviously we gotta wait to see what happens. But this team does look like a team that can definitely come back and repeat. I mean, they do have the roster, they do have the people that can do it. So, and we know what happened with dynasties and great players. You see other players that want to join them. We see it multiple times in the WNBA. So other players that want to have a taste of success, they end up joining, the players like Asia Wilson and the teams like the Aces to know what it feels like to win that championship. So for me, I think that she's definitely going up in that top 5, top 10 range. She win another championship, I think that conversation changes a little bit more.
Real quick before we take a break, Jackie Young's a free agent. Julia Lloyd's a free agent for both of the Aces.
Mm-hmm.
So you got that. And then you got some interesting names on the free agent list. Alyssa Thomas, she's a free agent. Natasha Howard, but she's kind of older. Gabby Williams, Arike Anubule, she's a free agent as well. Excellent 2-guard. Emma Messaman for the Liberty. She's Kelsey Mitchell for the Fever. So Brittany Griner, but she's like 35. Skylar Diggins, but she's 35 as well. Breonna Steele's a free agent, but I don't think she would leave, or she'll leave New York. So a lot of interesting names. Granted, the CBA got to go through first, but a lot of big names: Kelsey Plum, Dearica Hamby, excuse me. You got Kennedy Carter down in Mexico lining up, who I think should get a call. So a lot of interesting names to the upcoming NBA free agency, WNBA free agency. So we'll dive in that down the line on this stuff. But, ladies and gentlemen, when we come back, our NBA Western Conference preview, 15-1. We'll dive into that. But this is Fast Break here, live for iSports Radio. You're to be following sports. We'll catch you on the other side.
For the last 10 years, IE Sports Radio has been bringing you amazing content ranging from interviewing legendary athletes, coaches, and other authorized media personnel to building tailor-made shows dedicated to all major sports cities around the country. Make sure to follow us at IE Sports Radio on X, Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, and YouTube to keep up with the latest in sports and with all of our shows. Also, make sure to check out our daily updated website at iesportsradio.com. At iesportsradio.com, you can see our daily show schedule and check out all of our show pages with personal bios to learn a little bit more about each of our awesome hosts. In addition to our show pages, you can catch the iSports Radio blog, Hall of Fame, Fans of the Month page, and our merchandise shop including t-shirts, tank tops, caps, long sleeves, hoodies, and more. For now over a decade here at IE Sports Radio, we've continued to be by the fans, for the fans, and we thank you all for your support and for making IE Sports Radio your direct feed for all that is sports.
And welcome back here to the show, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for tuning in with us tonight. On this lovely, if you a big fall person, this weather is for you. Here on October the 12th, a couple of weeks away from Halloween, but also a week and couple days until the NBA season tips off. And if y'all new to the show, you're new to us, we do this preview series every year. This year, from the time we came back on live on the air, we usually go by divisions and stuff like that and break them down that way. But since we didn't have that time from that time frame to do that, we did the conferences, Eastern, Western. We got the Eastern conference last week. So if you're on YouTube, you can check on the playback there on there. But without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, real quick, follow us on IE Sports Radio on all your social media feeds, X, Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, YouTube. Especially on TikTok, we really been gaining some big ground of popularity there. So do give us a follow on there as well on those side of things. But D-Locke, we're here. This is the one that we kind of had to give space to because there's a lot of teams in the mix in the West that can go a lot of ways and whatnot.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I mentioned to you before the show, like I was sitting in the morning, I had my list done, feed my daughter breakfast. I was like, damn, what if this team does this or what happened to this player? And you don't know how things turn out. If one player goes down, you know, who's going to surprise and whatnot. I think that's what makes the West so fun every year because you don't know who's going to rise up to the top, who's going to surprise, which young team is going to finally, release tackles and grow as an organization. So this Western Conference this year is going to be very interesting. You know, the OKC Thunder won their first NBA championship as a team is in Oklahoma City. You know, of course, they won as Seattle back in the day, but now they're enriching OKC. You know, those young guys there, they got all contract extensions. So the growth and can they keep this up is going to be a thing to look forward to for years to come. And then you kind of looking at around that same area, the different Nuggets. You know, Joke is one of the best players in the world. They made some changes that I really like. I said, okay. I like what y'all did. Then, of course, you got Cooper Flag down in Dallas. How does he play in year one with a good mix of veterans there, if we're being honest? So I'm kind of curious how that works out with him down there. And then the two, I'll let you go. And then the two LA teams.
Mm-hmm.
We talked about Kawhi Leonard, first show back. What's going to happen with him and that franchise, and what's the punishment going to be with that? Also, they won the older rosters in the league. And then on the other side of town, the Lakers, got dudes mad that LeBron teased them that he's going to retire and spend his rent money on tickets. LeBron doing liquor commercials and doing TV shows for Amazon. But you got Luka locked up. You got new ownership as well. So a lot of questions in the West. And it's going to be a very interesting season. We got new TV partners in the mix now with Amazon in the mix of things. Basketball is back on NBC and Peacock. I watched the preseason Cavs and Bulls D-Locke. The graphics look pretty good. graphics look good. Presentation looks good. You know, I just kind of wish they got no ego with Reggie Miller, which I don't know. I kind of wish they kind of swung the money for Dwayne Wade to keep that pairing together. But you know, you got the inside the NBA crew going to ESPN, but only for select dates. I don't know if you saw that or not, but they got select dates for the inside NBA crew, which is beginning the season and then select dates throughout the year. So it's not like years past. They own Tuesdays and Thursdays, all that stuff, or every Thursday mostly. They don't select days throughout the year. So, and NBA Finals coverage and stuff like that. So that's another thing to kind of get used to, the change in that as well. But lots of changes in the NBA, the presentation, stuff like that. You know, All-Star games at LA in the Intuit Dome. So you got that going for itself. So, D-Locke, without further ado, I'll let you start off your NBA reference conference rankings.
All right, so when I did start this off, like I said, I had to, instead of starting from 15 up from the bottom to the top, I actually started from the top to the bottom. I had ranked what teams from 1 all the way down instead of 15 up. So it really wasn't too rough, but I think obviously we know that the West is very tough. You know what I mean? It can get very tough a lot of times. So I think for me, to get started on it, I was like, dang, a lot of these teams could make the playoffs. You know what I mean? But starting at 15, I'm going to go with the Utah Jazz. This backcourt is inconsistent right now. Who is going to be their backcourt starters with this team? We got Kevin Love. I don't think you're going to see too much from him. I think he possibly gets moved later on in the season to a team that's going to the playoffs. But what is this team doing when it comes to rebuild-wise? Who are they building around? Walker Kessler, I think, is a hell of a player. But are they going to build around him? They still got marketing. What's going on with this team? I think that this team is probably going to, be back in the lottery looking for another pick. Not, getting Walter Clayton, who I think was a big pickup. But this is a young team, and I think there's going to be a hell of a lot of room to grow for this team. So I really got them started at the bottom. We'll see how it kind of goes later on. They could shock some people, but I don't think they are playoff worthy in my mind. All right, 14. This is where, I guess it kind of gets a little tricky between 11 and up. I got New Orleans Pelicans. For me, Zion Williamson has always been the question.
Yeah.
I like Jordan Poole. I like Jordan Hawkins. I like Trey Murphy. Getting Sadiq Bey, Herb Jones. This is a nice roster. But with this team, injury plays a huge part in this team. If they're still leaning on Zion to be the guy that runs this group, I don't see too much going with him. And this is why I mean that it's tough to go from 15 to about 11, because a lot, as we talked about, I think the Pelicans have a young core that could be really good for a long time. But we've been saying this for a few years, and we've seen this with a different group around Zion.
Yeah,
Zion's starting to be the younger version of Joel Embiid to me, because he's starting to get different groups around him, and we're not seeing anything out of it. So, can this team find a way to win with the group that they have? I think Jordan Poole's a hell of a player. Trey Murphy had a hell of a season last year. I think having him and Herb Jones was a good combination between those two. But again, Zion being inconsistent in playing time played a huge part, a very huge part. So for me, that's the big question about this team. Yes, we got a decent roster. They've had a decent roster a few times, but what have they done with it? And there's nothing that I really can say about this team that makes me think, okay, this team is gonna all of a sudden make this huge jump. And there's other teams that I like as well. So 15, 14, 13. I got the Portland Trailblazers. I think this team is also with Utah of what are they doing? Are they in the mix of rebuilding? Like who are they building around? You went and got Dame. Obviously, he's going to be out for a while. The inconsistency of Robert Williams, also with injuries. Now, I do like Shaedon Sharpe. I think he's going to be he's going to play a hell of a lot better with this team. I think with Anthony Simmons being gone, I think he's going to take more of a leadership role. Bringing Drew Holiday there, that's going to be your captain more than likely, but more of your defender. So, to me, they're going to lean more on, obviously, Denny and Shaedon Sharpe. I just don't see this team as being competitive enough to be playoff worthy, especially in the West. The West is entirely too tough. Jerami Grant, if they can give this guy the minutes, I think they have a hell of a player in Jerami Grant. But with this rotation of guys, we don't really see him in that much. Now they're adding Chris Murray onto this roster as well. So with me, I'm kind of stuck on what is Portland doing. What are they trying to do? So that's why I got them there. So that's 15. Let me see. I got it written down. That's 13, correct? Yeah. All right.
Yes, sir.
12. Sacramento Kings.
Yeah, I can see that. Yeah.
This is another team that has a pretty decent roster. Zach LaVine, DeMar DeRozan. I like that. Domantas Sabonis. I like it, but this is the same team they had last year. So I don't really see a huge step up. Okay, cool. Got Dennis Schroeder. Keon Ellis is probably going to play a better role. Malik Monk is playing pretty solid off the bench. But what are we getting from this team? This is the same core that we had last year. The same exact core. So to me, I don't really see a huge improvement, especially on the West. You got to make some big moves to do something in the West, in my eyes. Can Zach LaVine stay healthy and lead this team? Possibly. But with him and DeMar DeRozan, I think they got to be more consistent for this team to be playoff worthy. I think that's just what it is. Because they got, like I said, you have your guards, Malik Monk, and Schroeder. But this team is going to run. This team goes as Zach LaVine, DeMar DeRozan go, and we've seen that last year. So for me, I'm really not sold on this team yet. And obviously, I think because again we're talking about the West, totally different in the East. If it was in the East, we might be looking at a different ranking for this team. But I don't really see them matching up with all these other teams that made their improvements to make that step moving forward. All right, so this is where it gets, like I said, 11 up. Now it got kind of hectic to me. Here, this might be a shocker, but I got the Phoenix Suns. So I think losing Bradley Beal and Kevin Durant played a huge piece in my decision with this. Okay, cool. We went back, got Dylan Brooks in that trade. I like Mark Williams. I like what they did in the draft. Going to get, also have Nick Richards. But I just don't. I don't see Devin Booker and Jalen Green being enough for this team. Not on the West. I just think that Devin Booker is a hell of a player. We know that. But I think he could possibly be up for MVP candidate. I think he's going to put up crazy numbers. But I don't see this team, hell, even in the play-in. They're going to be literally right outside of it, in my eyes. Different improvements from other teams also helped me make that decision. But even down low, like I said, I think you're going to rely a lot on Ryan Dunn and Dylan Brooks. What are we going to get from that? Your major scorer is going to be Devin Booker and Jalen Green. So now, does this mean that this team is a hell of a lot worse than they were last year? I really want to say that because we had so much high expectation for Kevin Durant, Bradley Beal, and Devin Booker, and they never hit that expectation. So for me, I I think this makes it clear that this is Devin Booker's team. But I don't see them being playoff contention. All right. Number 10. This would change, but if it wasn't for injuries, I got the Dallas Mavericks.
Okay.
If Kyrie was there, I think this would be a totally different decision. I would bump them up a few spots. But sometimes we get the good D'Angelo Russell, and then sometimes we get Los Angeles Lakers D'Angelo Russell. Very inconsistent. I think we're going to see a hell of a lot from Cooper Flag. Obviously, with Kyrie being gone, I think they're gonna lean a lot more on Cooper Flag. Anthony Davis is Anthony Davis, but we know what his major problem is injury. Injury prone. Can he stay healthy throughout the season with this team? Because I mean, this is going to be a team that probably relies a hell of a lot on him. Now, the big bonus that this team has is they do have those bigs, P.J. Washington, Derek Lively, and Gafford. So they got those rotational guys. They're going to be a tough team down low, without question. But it's the inconsistency at the guard play. I mean, can we get a consistent D'Angelo Russell and Max Christie? You know, I think we're not going to see the Golden State Warriors, Klay Thompson. We're not seeing that splash brother anymore. What do we get from Brandon Williams, Najee Marshall from time to time, Max Christie, and D'Angelo Russell? Can we get them to be consistent? Can they hold it down until Kyrie can come back? Is that possible? So for me, I like this team, man. I think Cooper Flag is going to be up for Rookie of the Year. But I want to give it some time first. Obviously, the fact that they traded Luka and got back and got Cooper Flag is already red. A lot of people are thinking suspicious of that anyway. So that's setting them up for the future. But again, I just see that, like I said, if Kyrie was on this team healthy, we might be having a totally different conversation. But I think that this team here, with the inconsistency at the guard play, is one of the reasons why I'm like, okay, this team could be in contention of getting in the play-in, but it's going to be kind of tough for them to get one of them top spots. Number 9, the Memphis Grizzlies. Okay, they lost Desmond Bane. Huge piece I think they lost. But you still got John Morant. Still. So, John Morant, and then you go get you a defender in KCP. Jalen Wells actually played pretty well last year. And I think Jaren Jackson is going to be up for defensive player of the year as well. I think that this team did lose a few pieces, but they did replace them. You know, going to get Ty Jerome, who we seen play extremely well off the bench with the Cavs last year. Scottie Pippen is also a player that can come in and play pretty well with them as well. The biggest thing for me is, you know, where do we see the consistency in Jaren Jackson on both sides? Can he stay out of foul trouble? That's the biggest thing. Can he stay out of foul trouble? If you can keep Jaren Jackson healthy and out of foul trouble, I think you might have a team that could be something. I mean, leading the way, obviously with Ja Morant, I think that this team is going to be pretty solid. Losing Ty Jones, replacing with Ty Jerome. Now you have another 3-and-D guy. You got a 3-and-D guy in KCP. Can they put some defense together on this team, which is one thing that they lacked a little bit? Can they get some defense put on this team to where they can actually be consistent and continue putting up points and put teams away? Because again, you know, we know what Jaren Jackson can do, but he can barely stay on the court. That's the biggest thing. So obviously still having Zach Edey, I think that this team has the bigs, but now we got to see what they can do with the guards. But I think that this team, like I said, as much as it did hurt them that they lost Desmond Bane to my Orlando Magic, I think that it was a good piece picking up KCP because of what he brings to the table. You're not going to ask KCP to go give you 25 and 6. You know what I mean? He's going to be that defender that you need. And then you're going to have Ty Jerome come in with Scottie Pippen and get some of those minutes and play a little bit of offense. So for me, I'm not disappointed at what they did, but I don't think they really dropped off too much by losing Desmond Bane. All right. 8. I got the Houston Rockets. Yes.
No.
Yes.
Oh.
I think the biggest reason for this, and I told you before this, because I didn't tell you my rankings, but I did tell you why I did make that.
I gotta hear this.
One of the reasons why I made this move is because I think Fred VanVleet is a hell of a player that's going to impact this team. You lose Jalen Green, cool. You go get Kevin Durant, perfect. You got Jabari Smith, you got Sengun, who everybody's calling the baby Joker. You went and got Clint Capella, cool. You got Tari Eason, cool. In my opinion, I don't see this as the Kevin Durant of OKC. I don't see the Kevin Durant of the Golden State Warriors. I think this is the Kevin Durant that, as he says, he just wants the ball. He just wants to play ball. And meaning that I don't see him as that guy that's going to take over and be the leader of this team. I don't see that from Kevin Durant. Now, that's what I think this team is going to lack with Fred VanVleet out. If Fred VanVleet doesn't get hurt, this team is literally top 4 in the West without question. But when you lose a leader that leadership like that, it has to be replaced. Amon Thompson, I don't think so, not yet. Jabari Smith, not yet. Reed Shepherd, not yet. I think they're going to lack the leadership of a Fred VanVleet. I think that's going to play a huge part in where this team goes, because Kevin Durant is going to be, he's one of the best, greatest shooters of all time, but this is not the MVP Kevin Durant. Now, if this was, we're having a totally different conversation, but it's not. And we've seen the teams that he was a part of and how they were structured. Any team that Kevin Durant was a part of, he wasn't necessarily the leader. He would come in and get his points and be about the way they had somebody else lead. And when he was at the Warriors, Steph led. OKC, he had a situation where James Harden or Russ led.
Yeah.
So to me, I don't see Brooklyn, same thing. To me, I don't see, if Kevin Durant comes up early in the season and he's showing his leadership, all bets are off. But I don't see that being that Kevin Durant. And it's not a shot towards him. I just think that he's the one that want to come and get his buckets and step out the way. In my opinion.
I just think it's low for them, though.
Yeah, it is. It is. It is. I got a couple surprises with that for reasoning, but I think that the leadership piece plays a huge role. Now, getting Capella and Kevin Durant, I think that's hella. This is a playoff team, but the leadership role of do they start off with a run? Do they, out of the first 10 games, they go win 8? Out of the first 20, 25, can they go win 17, 18? Can they go on a 7-8 game run without a leader there? I just don't. I don't see it right now. Now we have this conversation midway. That's a different thing. So again, I think that that's a tough number to put them at. But I definitely think, like I said, that's going to be a team to watch out for. It's just that leadership piece plays a huge part. Number 7. I got the San Antonio Spurs. Victor has already shown us who he is. I think he's going to grow more into that guy. I think with the pieces that they have, this team is going to take that next step. This is that young team, or that young team and those players that I think they're going to take that next step this year. Devin Vassell is a hell of a player. I think Dylan Harper is going to be a star for them. You got a little bit of leadership in the vet and Harrison Barnes, but Victor is the one that's going to lead this crowd. I think he's going to be the one that's going to get them there. I just feel like having the Spurs are never one thing about it is the Spurs are in that caliber with the Lakers. They're not going to be bad for too long. They're going to figure it out. And going to get Victor played a huge part. Also, De'Aaron Fox being there, I think that's a huge piece. I think he's going to step up. Now, he's probably going to start the season off a little nicked up, but I think he'll be good for the long term. So I like the Spurs. I definitely think they're a playoff team this year. I think they make that step. Now, this is one of the reasons why, like I said, it was tough picking between them and the Rockets is, I kind of can see this young team being a little bit more motivated and having a leadership that can take them that next step. Now, I think it's going to be a tight race between them and the Rockets, but I think that the Spurs are going to be the team that young team that can make that next move up. All right, next team for me, the Golden State Warriors. I think that Steph is going to be Steph. I think it's amazing that he's going to be playing with his brother. I think that's one of the coolest things ever. You know what I mean? To play pro ball, that's like Ken Griffey, even though his father's son, I think that's still super cool to be able to play on the same team as your brother. But with this team, you got the vets there. You got Jimmy Butler, Draymond, Al Horford. I think this team is starting to get, obviously not starting, but they're up there in age.
Yeah.
That's just what it is. They got a couple young pieces, but I think this team is up there in age. I did not know Bradley Beal not Bradley Beal, I'm sorry. Buddy Hield is 34.
Yeah.
So time is going. So to me, I think that this team is going to be good. Obviously, the Kuminga situation we talked about, but I think bringing Al Horford in, I really want to see how this works out. How does it benefit this team? We seen what Al Horford would kind of look like last year and the year before. Like he's up there in age as well. So are they going to ask Al Horford to go average 30 plus minutes a night? I don't think so. So how often do we see Bradley Beal? How often do we see Al Horford up at games on his team? Draymond got to stay out of trouble, man. At this point, the dude is always. It's starting to get really crazy and used to seeing him doing a wrestling move on somebody on the basketball court now. Like this is the norm for Draymond. So for me, I think they got a dog in Jimmy Butler. I just think that this team is starting to creep up there in age, and this could be one of the last time we see this group together. And I think this is the last run. They got to start rebuilding at some point. Now we talked about the whole Kuminga situation. Clearly, this team is not trying to rebuild now, but with the team that they have right now, they need to start. They need to get going and get to start rebuilding because Steph is going to be gone. That's coming around. All right, the next team I have is the Los Angeles Clippers. Now, I got the Clippers because this is another situation where what do we see out of Bradley Beal? Do we see the Washington Wizards Bradley Beal? Can he come in and play a role with this team, him and Chris Paul? This is what I mean by leadership. They have some leadership on it. Now, we already seen Chris Paul and James Harden on the same team before, and we see how that worked. What can we get out of James Harden, Chris Paul, Bradley Beal, and Kawhi Leonard? We see the situation with Kawhi Leonard. We've already talked about how he goes about his work. I think grabbing another piece in Brook Lopez, that was a hell of a pickup, in my opinion. Now they have some more bigs down there, not expecting Ivan Zubac to do everything, and also getting John Collins. I think getting that really puts you in a totally different realm when it comes to your bigs. You're good in that range, and you got depth now on all aspects. Bradley Beal, Chris Paul, James Harden, Chris Dunn, and Bogdan Bogdanovic. I love this core. The problem is who's gonna? I mean, I think it's gonna be Chris Paul's gonna be that leader. But what do we get out of Kawhi Leonard? Can he stay healthy? Are we gonna get a fully engaged Kawhi Leonard? If we can get the locked in Kawhi Leonard, the Toronto Raptors Kawhi Leonard, the San Antonio Spurs Kawhi Leonard, then this team might be somebody to reckon with. Because they have a nice group. But that's the question that still remains. Right? You got Zubac, you got Brook Lopez, you're gonna be good when it comes to the bigs. But now what are you gonna get from your star players? And the number one guy, I think, is Kawhi Leonard. So I think that having Chris Paul, he's gonna, like I said, he's gonna play that vet role, also that leadership role. May not see him as much, but this depth chart and this roster does not look bad. They're also another team that's getting up there in age as well. So I like this team, but we have to see what they do, with the star that they have, and can they actually stay consistent and stay healthy. All right, that's 5. Now we get to the 4. My 4th team is the Minnesota Timberwolves.
Okay.
I put this team at 4 because I don't, in my opinion, remember I said before the show, I said there's some teams that did not make any moves. They're very consistent. I think this team is literally the same exact team from last year. A few pieces added, but I think this is this is the same exact team from last year, just a year more mature, in my opinion. I don't see this team dropping off that much at all. Mike Conley is up there in age, but I think that this core that they have is a very good core. My question is, what do they do with Naz Reid? How they play in the minutes with him, Julius Randle, and Rudy Gobert? That's the part that what I have in question for this team. Ant-Man, I think he's going to be up for MVP. I think he's going to have one of those seasons. But the fact that this team is still the same, I don't have any problem with moving them or keeping them there, because I think they're still a top 4, top 5 team in the West, without question. They got the chemistry. We've seen it multiple times where we've seen that team go to the playoffs and come back and be even better. I think that's the Timberwolves. Without question. I think that what they have is something that, like I said, is something that we have to continue to monitor. And I think that Ant-Man is going to continue. I think that them beating the Lakers last year in the playoffs got them a hell of a lot more confidence. And I think they're going to take that into this year. But with that being said, the number 3 team that I have is the Los Angeles Lakers.
Okay.
They fixed the main thing with me. They went and got a big. Let me see. And I think the biggest thing for me is that's what they lacked last year. Last year, Jackson Hayes, Christian Coloco, those guys were not doing anything down low. They couldn't grab a board to save their life. The biggest thing was, remember they tried to trade for Mark Williams? That fell through. So
I still think great move, by the way. Not the trade.
Oh yeah, great move. And I think now that they've moved on past that, I think going to grab DeAndre Ayton is a hell of a pickup in my eyes with this team. Now, granted, he has said allegedly that he has not worked with Luka or LeBron. Cool, he's doing interviews, that's fine. But I think this team is going to be primed and ready when the time is right, because they got the one LeBron, King James. Another piece that I really, really like to pick up is Marcus Smart. That is another defender that you need. They went and got Gabe Vincent a couple years ago. He's been inconsistent, been hurt. They went and got Marcus Smart, who I think is a hell of a pickup for that defending side that they need, because we know that the Lakers lack big time, and that's defense. So for me, going to get another guard that can play defense like that, that's a hell of a pickup. along with that, and I'll say this, and I'll just not talk about it anymore. I think Bronny James still is developing.
Mm-hmm.
I think he's still in that development stage. We've seen it over even summer leagues, preseason. I think he's still developing. Now, obviously, because he is LeBron's son, expectations are to the roof. But I think it's going to take more time for this guy to be ready for the NBA. I think the expectation just got super high because of who his dad is, and it happened with multiple players in different leagues or different sports. You know what I mean? Michael Jordan's his kids, same thing. They couldn't dribble a basketball. People thought that they would drop 30 a night. So to me, it's just the expectation needs to be tempered down right now. I think that he is still in that development stage. So those Laker fans, if he's going to be in LA, you may have to be pretty patient with this guy because I think it's going to take him a little time to get there. And I'm hoping that JJ Redick knows that. If this kid is not ready to dress, don't dress him. Simple as that. So now I'll leave that part there. But again, I think this Lakers team is going to be one of the top teams in the West. You went and got you a big that's going to play a huge role. Obviously, Luka's going to be Luka. LeBron's going to be out for about a month, at least right now. Allegedly, he's going to monitor to see what's happening, to see if he make any other move. LeBron's not going anywhere. I just think that right now, this team is going to be one to watch for because they made that huge splash, in my opinion, that's going to put the Lakers over the map as far as other teams in the West. And my number 2 team, this is where it got pretty interesting because we've seen 2 teams win the NBA title these last couple of years between these 2 teams. But number 2, I'm going with the Denver Nuggets.
Okay.
They went and got Cameron Johnson in replace of Michael Porter. Me and you talked about this last year, a couple years ago. When the hell they're going to move on from Michael Porter? I am totally fine with this pick of getting Cameron Johnson. They understood that the last time that they won the NBA Finals, Bruce Brown was on that team.
Yep. And
he played great defense. Great defense. So what did they do? They went back and got him. So to me, one thing that they did lack is defense. Now, granted, okay, cool, they moved on from Michael Porter, was one of your shooters who was inconsistent with your three-pointer. So when they signed Bruce Brown, they went and got Cam Johnson, and they also brought in Tim Hardaway. So they brought in some more help on the shooting side. So I think that this team is going to be a hell of a team to watch out for. Going to get Valanciunas as well. That is probably the best free agent pickup this whole free agency. The reason why is because now we seen last year or the year before where Jokic had to go battle against I believe it was Minnesota when they had Gobert and Karl Anthony Towns, and it just was too much. We seen Jokic last year go against Chet Holmgren and the rest of the Thunder centers, and it was too much. They know that, they attacked it, and going to get Joe Val is a hell of a pickup. That's a huge piece. So I think that this team is going to be the biggest thing that causes a threat to OKC because of that. And also, as good as the Lakers did during the free agency signing, the Nuggets come back and say, "Here, hold my beer." Boom.
Yep.
They went and got Cameron Johnson, Bruce Brown, and Joe Val, and I think that's going to play a hell of a piece for this team. I definitely see this team posing a threat to the number 1 team that I have, and that's the Oklahoma City Thunder. There's no way I'm going against the NBA champs. Right now, you're bringing back that same team, won a championship last year, having Jalen Williams, Hartenstein, and Chet Holmgren. I talked about before when it came to Timberwolves. I said, hey, this team didn't make that many moves. I don't like them. I think they're stagnant. I think they are still as good as they were last year. I think the same thing about this team here. I think that They drafted, they got all these pieces from last year. This team is only going to get better. SGA is still going to be up for MVP. Going to get Chet Holmgren. Having Chet Holmgren as Isaiah Hartenstein is the reason why the Denver Nuggets had to go get another center. They're the reason why the Lakers had to go get another center. So this is they're showing you what they have, and teams are trying to figure out how to plan and strategize against it. This is the best team in the West and in the NBA. I think if they stay healthy, if they continue to stay healthy, they still got the veteran in Alex Caruso. This team is going to be hard to beat, man. I mean, their rotation is flawless. I mean, like I said, Chet Holmgren come down and play the five if you want to. Move Jalen Williams down and put Alex Caruso to the small, or now you give him a break. You got Jalen Williams still coming off the bench. They got so many pieces that they can kind of rotate, and this is the problem that they showed teams last year. Now teams are trying to build to compete with this team. So right now, to say that they are repeat, I don't want to say that for sure yet, but I think it's going to be pretty damn hard for any team to beat them in the NBA.
All righty. So just to recap, you got the Jazz at 15, the New Orleans Pelicans at 14, the Portland Trailblazers at 13, 12, the Sacramento Kings, number 11 for you, the Phoenix Suns, number 10, the Dallas Mavericks, number 9, the Memphis Grizzlies, number 8, which if you see people see on the playback, they may be surprised, the Houston Rockets. Number 7, the San Antonio Spurs. Number 6, the Golden State Warriors. Number 5 for you, the LA Clippers. Number 4, the Minnesota Timberwolves. Number 3, the LA Lakers. Number 2, the Denver Nuggets. And your number 1 team, the defending champs, the OKC Thunder. All right.
I guess your list gonna look a little different than mine.
All right. This list was pretty tough.
Yes.
And you had to factor in injuries and stuff that some of these guys are coming back from. But to get started, number 15, I got the Utah Jazz. Stockpiling picks and developing young talent. There's a story I saw earlier, watching the Georgia-Auburn game, that Lauri Markkanen may be traded. So you can possibly get more picks out of that. But in the same breath, a lot of people brought up on X, saying that you could have traded him a year or so ago, but Danny Ainge is got attributed to that. And I think, Danny Ainge is doing that same formula that he did with Boston, which eventually kind of really, you think about it, paid off, but could you maybe want something earlier in that process in Boston? You know what I'm saying? Now in Utah, you got a bigger hill to climb in the West compared to the East. Ace Bailey's a good start. Isaiah Collier, good start. But you got a big hill to climb. You trade away Colin Sexton. Kevin Love seems like he's going to embrace being like the veteran leader there in Utah. But besides that, man, I'm looking at this roster. Let me double check the roster real quick. And let's see, they played the other night. I saw that. They played the Spurs the other night. Ace Bailey had 20 points in 38 minutes. And of course, they went to overtime. Your guy from Florida, William Clayton. Another young guy, you can play 20 points for him. Even Kevin Love got some burn as well. And I did not know, just looking at this box score, that Kyle Anderson signed with them as well. So we got another veteran there as well. Joseph Nurkic is there as the big man. Was it Isaiah Harson? They played Walker Kessler. That's another name to kind of look out for. Walker Kessler. Are you gonna be all in? Are you gonna be in or out of them? Because he's been on trade rumors for the past couple of years.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like if Ainge, didn't have this hatred for the Lakers, he'd probably been a Laker already, down low. I ain't trying to sound like a Laker homer or whatever, but I'm just thinking he'd been a Laker already if Ainge wasn't like a big hater. But this team is young. I don't see him ahead of some of these other teams, but I got them 15. 14, the Portland Trailblazers. They're going to be competitive, but they're not playoff ready yet. I like Drew Holiday there. I hope he put Scoot Robinson to the second team and let him learn some more. You mentioned about other names like Cooper Flagg, Dylan Harper, and stuff like that. Scoot Henderson is another one. Bronny James. Scoot Henderson is another one that still needs development. And I think, if we look back at the G League Ignite and all this stuff, a lot of those dudes should have went to school for at least a year.
Mm-hmm.
And Scoot Henderson is one of those dudes. I could look up to see who he's who's looking at college wise, but like a Tom Izzo for a year, or Eric Musselman, John Calipari at Kentucky, somewhere to kind of hone that point guard skills and stuff like that with his athleticism and all that. I think a year would benefit him greatly in college. Now, granted, you got Chauncey Billups there, great teacher. Drew Holiday and Damian Lillard in the facility with you now, also some great teachers. So, I don't know how long Drew Holiday is going to be in a Blazers uniform, but I hope Scoot Henderson soaks up that knowledge there with those guys in the building, and it'll be great for their future. I still kind of on the fence on the big man they took from China in the first round. I was like, what are we doing here? But we'll see on this. I'll see on that on the side of things. But a very solid roster. Not a lot of outside shooting that give me confidence over the other teams. I think there's one thing that's going to hold them back. It's the outside shooting. But other than that, solid roster. I like them. Just too many other teams ahead of them right now.
Mm-hmm.
Older teams at that. I'll get to more of that in a little second. But I got them at 14. 13. Like you mentioned, New Orleans Pelicans. They go as Zion goes. As we mentioned about 3 years ago, this team around the Christmas break, before the Christmas break 3 years ago, were at the top of the West. Then Zion got hurt, and then they just fell all the way to playing contention. They got a nice group of guys, especially on the wing and stuff like that. Jordan Hawkins, Herb Jones, Trey Murphy, those guys. I like Jordan Poole. I thought, his stat-wise would have been better in Washington, having a more green light, but that didn't happen like I hoped last year. So you got that. But this didn't go how far Zion goes.
Mm-hmm.
And, he lost weight. He looks good. If he can keep that up and keep up the other stuff on the backside as well, meaning the off-the-court stuff, things can go great for this team. If not, I'm looking at this roster. If take him out of the equation, you got a rebuild roster. You got Jeremiah Fears, you took in the first round. Jordan Hawkins is a young guy. Derek Queen, young guy. You had Kevon Looney down low to kind of get that veteran presence down low. It's Messi, got him down low. And also, you got Joe Dumars in the mix. Joe Dumars finally back in the front office. First time in a long time. And I felt like he could have got a job sooner somewhere. But I'm kind of curious how he builds his roster. And how much and I think the key thing with the old head like that, how much patience he going to have with the Zion Williamson. I think that's another key storyline to keep your eye on. How much patience he's going to have with Zion Williamson if he ain't doing what he's supposed to and whatnot.
Mm-hmm.
Because David Griffin showed a lot of patience. And we're talking Joe Dumars and, coming from a different time in the NBA. And he got a standing from his playing days and then the time he was in general manager at Detroit. So that's one thing ladies and gentlemen, you got to keep an eye on for the course of the season. We starting to hear stories about Joe Dumars and Zion Williamson. I think that be maybe coming ahead. But I got them at 13. It could be a playoff team, playing team, if they're consistent. But they go as Zion goes.
Mm-hmm.
12. I got the Phoenix Suns.
At 12?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Kevin Durant's roster, reshape the roster. I don't like the big situation for Phoenix. I know they're playing for Mark Williams. They drafted the young kid from Duke.
Mm-hmm.
But I still contend that you should start. Let me pull this kid's name up. I got the name right. You still got to start Kamen Mulak from Duke. You still got to start him. If he's not your starting center some point in the season, then what are we doing here? You got the former big cast-offs from the Charlotte Hornets and Mark Williams and Nick Richards at your disposal. I'm kind of curious to see how Mark Williams does and how he plays. If he plays well for the Suns, then the Lakers probably got egg on their face. But, I'm still, that dude's been injured for most of his career, so I'm not really sweating it. We'll see. But big men wise, I don't like how they structured. That power forward situation kind of scares me. If they're going to play small ball, great. But other than that, it's going to be tough to sell. I mean, Devin Booker's going to score the hell out of the ball. But can he stay healthy? Because he missed a lot of time last year. How is Jalen Green going to do with Devin Booker in the backcourt? Grayson Allen, good solid six man for them. Royce O'Neal, very solid veteran for them as well. Nigel. Oh, damn, he's back in the league. Nigel Hayes-Davis, guy that's been playing in Europe for the past couple of years, back in the league. So some depth right there on the wing in the 4 spot. So they got some good guards, but the down low thing kind of just like kind of puts me off a little bit. But I got them in 12. Could be a play-in team, towards the end of the year. And, the ownership and the coaching situation as well. That's another thing to keep an eye on, too. It's like past couple of years, like a new coach has been in the captain's chair each year. So that's not been a great look. And, getting rid of Bradley Beal, you had to write that off as well. So I got them at 12. 11, the Memphis Grizzlies. I'll be honest with you, D-Lock. They should be somewhat on the same level as the OKC Thunder. If you're being real about it, they drafted about the same type of young type of players. You know, guys like John Morant, Desmond Bain, who's no longer with him, Jaren Jackson, Zaire Williams, and I can go on. A lot of guys that kind of eerie similar to OKC, but when we talk about culture and stuff like that, you know, that always sets the tone of your franchise in all pro sports for ownership down. In OKC, we seen a presence there for Sam Presti in that ownership. With Memphis, we don't got that there. And we documented, you know, John Morant's issues and stuff like that. You know, Jaren Jackson, solid, but, you know, as he already peaked as an NBA player and what he is, I think there's still more room to be more dominant, but I don't think, you know, he wants to go there. Zach Edey, you know, I think he's going to be a good, solid player for them. You know, trading away Desmond Bain, you know, the outside shooting is going to be gone. So how you replace that?
Mm-hmm.
So it's just like they got some nice backup guys in Ty Jerome and Scottie Pippen. I do like that. KCP should be solid for them. You know, Jalen Wells played pretty well for them and should continue to develop and whatnot. But, you know, it's just like the wasted potential of the squad. And we should be talking to them as title contenders and not playing team trying to make it to the playoffs. They could surprise us like a couple years ago and be atop of the West again. Who knows? But for right now, and the way things been going for the past couple years, they sitting here at 11 in my eyes. Number 10, the Sacramento Kings. How does Doug Christie do as a full-time head coach? That's the one thing I'm going to look at.
Mm-hmm.
And then, you know, De'Aaron Fox is gone. He finally woke up and realized, like, damn, we ain't going nowhere in Sacramento, so let me get somewhere I can be somewhere. And he chose Brighton San Antonio with Victor Wembanyama. I know you like this roster. I don't like this roster. I don't like the point guard situation. They don't have like a true point. You know, I know they signed Dennis Schroeder, and he played great this past summer for Germany and win the European Championship. He played great. But, you know, you only signed to a one-year deal. Malik Monk, he seems like he's hurt at the moment, so we don't know he's back. I love Keon Ellis, but he's a good rotational piece. But you're paying a lot of money for DeMar DeRozan, Sabonis, Zach LaVine to be mid. And you're paying all that money to be mid. And I don't think this team has no growth to improve. Keegan Murray, if he can like show some growth, I think that can elevate them in the standings a little bit. But this team is just stuck in the mud. And like some people brought up, you know, you kind of similar like the Chicago Bulls in the West. You really think about it. A lot of guys holding big salaries, but you're in the playing range. And I just really don't like this look for this roster. And then the thing is, you got an ownership that wants to win but don't know how to do it, or is going about it wrong, or he's got the wrong people telling him wrong, just to keep their job. So I got that number 10. I think they're just spinning their wheels, getting rid of Mike Brown for what? I don't know. but I think he's in a better situation in New York. And I just wish Doug Christie the best. Number 9. Oops. Number 9, the Los Angeles Clippers.
Ooh. Ooh.
I could put them higher. But you talk about the oldest team, one of the oldest rosters in the team in the league. If Kawhi Leonard's like fully healthy, which he never will be again, I'll put them higher. How much gas in the tank you got from Chris Paul? How much gas in the tank you got left from James Harden? Brook Lopez is my age at 37. I think the young talent development has it sucked. And that's why you kind of depend on these older guys, excuse me. You trade away Norman Powell away, who should have been an all-star. Thank you, LeBron. Getting John Collins is good. And Zubac is a beast down low.
Mm-hmm.
But I got other teams ahead right now. And I think the Kawhi situation we talked about 2 weeks ago, I don't think it'll affect them, but it's just like that's still lingering and stuff still coming out about that too. You know what I'm saying? So it's just like, does that affect things? I think they'll be a playoff team, but I think other teams going to be ahead of them right now.
Mm-hmm.
But I just got them number 9 right now, just because I just think I got a couple other teams that kind of ahead of them right now. This will be a playoff team in my eyes. 8, the San Antonio Spurs. Surrounding talent, improving, but still developing. Plus, Mitch Johnson as a full-time head coach. How's that going to look? The Clippers team, Victor Wembanyama in the preseason, looked pretty damn good. He's coming along very nicely. He's been alleged to grown a couple of inches. This roster looks pretty good. De'Aaron Fox, Dylan Harper, Stephen Castle, Julian Champagne. I really like this roster. Harrison Barnes as a veteran, along with Keldon Johnson, Devin Like, you got a nice young roster. I think Kelly Olynyk's there. Luke Cornett is there as well. I think probably paid a little too much money for Luke Cornett, but I like what they did. I like some of the guys they did, and if they can bring along the young talent, I think things will be looking good for them. But if Victor stay on the court healthy, if De'Aaron Fox, can bounce back after last season, I think this team will be a playoff team. And I think a team that you probably don't want to see in the playoffs.
Nah.
So I think that's the team. If you get matched up with them, want to get to like the 1 and 2 seeds, I think that's a team that you don't want to see in the playoffs in the first round. They could give you fits. But I got them number 8 right now. 7, the Dallas Mavericks.
Ooh.
This season should be just about Cooper Flagg's development.
Mm-hmm.
Klay Thompson, getting close to mid-30s and having his fun with Megan Thee Stallion. Anthony Davis. I think Anthony Davis is going to be in for a big year. I think he's going to be pissed off that he's still be pissed off he got traded away by the Lakers. So I think he's going to be in line for a huge season for the Mavericks. I think DeAndre Russell will be a good solid holdover till Kyrie Irving gets back. Dante Exum's come in and played well as the defensive guy. The big man, Gafford and Powell, I think they'll come along nicely. PJ Washington, I think he'll play very well as well. If you keep his off the court business off the court, that'd be great. Don't let it get to the limelight.
Right.
And then, a guy like Max Christie, Kellen Martin, if they can play well, that'd be great for them. But I think the main thing is like Cooper Flagg's development. Now, how does Jason Cliff play him? Do you got him at the 3? Do you play him at the 4? Right now I think you got to play him at the 3 because you got the other bigs down low. So playing the 3, you got some mismatch there. Him being like 6'9", 6'10", you got to take advantage of that. So he'd be one of the bigger wingmen, in the NBA. So if Kid can figure that out, give him some nice pick and roll situations with Anthony Davis, Gafford, Lively, I think that'd be great. And Klay Thompson, if he's back in that old Golden State mode, hitting wide open shots, stuff like that, I think that'd be awesome as well. So that's why I'm kind of looking at this team. It's like the scenarios I just go in my head, I think they can do very well this year. But I think one of these teams will be scratching and clawing the playoffs early on because they don't got Kyrie. But I got them at 7. 6. Oh, excuse me. 6, the Golden State Warriors. This team is a playoff team, but their time is ticking.
Yes.
Curry 37, Draymond's mid-30s. Al Horford, I love him, but he's 38, 39. Buddy Hield's 34. His brother's in his 30s as well. Jimmy Butler's mid-30s. There's a lot of guys in the mid-30s right there. And they kind of squandered their youth in which they could get this thing going. The Jonathan Kuminga situation was handled poorly. Yes, I know he resigned, but I don't think he sticks with his team past trade deadline. Depending on how things go in the season, but I don't see him sticking around past the trade deadline. I think he gets moved for something else, depending on how the season goes. So I got them at 6. Steph Curry will play very well for them. Brandon Patinsky, I think he'll come in, continue to play well. Trace Jackson Davis, I think he'll continue to play well and be that big man down low. But, I just think the age thing is going to bite them once again. Like you brought about Draymond, this guy stay level-headed. Just stay level-headed for us, please. I got them at 6. 5, the Los Angeles Lakers. What does Luka do without LeBron early in the season? LeBron's going to be out with injury. I'm kind of curious how this team is going to do without LeBron in that early part. And how they're going to look and what they're going to do. They play pretty well together, but we'll see what J.J. Redick does with him without LeBron for a good stretch of games. So I'm kind of curious how that looks. DeAndre Ayton, I think, same age as Luka. I think that's a guy that's really got to show something this year. A guy that, people in Phoenix said some things about. People in Portland said some things about. And now you're in a situation with the Lakers. Can you take advantage of this? Can you take advantage of this situation here to be that guy? So I think that's one thing you got to look towards for this team. Like, can he be that guy? To build around looking for the years to come. The bench, I like it, Marcus Smart, but everybody else got question marks. One thing about JJ Redick and his growth as a coach, I won't say you don't have to have a sensitive side as a coach, but can you mature players? And what I mean by that, I felt like Dalton Connect was kind of like his whipping boy last year. And then he got traded, then the trade got rescinded, and then Connect kind of really lost his mojo in a sense. And then in the summer, Connect didn't play particularly well in the summer league. Can JJ kind of find like the right thing say to him to motivate him to kind of get him back on track and show that promise that a lot of us saw early in the NBA season last year. I think that's one thing about JJ Redick. Like, yeah, you could be a hard ass all the time, but at some point, you gotta do different tactics to motivate players. So year 2 in JJ Redick, how are you gonna progress forward? With this roster, you got a contract extension. Okay, cool, but you gotta show progress with this squad. And if Vanderbilt's healthy, that'd be great. Rui's gonna be solid as well. Austin Reeves is a name to mention, especially around the trade deadline. If a contract extension don't get reached, do they move off him if he don't like the deals that the Lakers giving him? And also, you got the new ownership as well coming to the fold of things. How they gonna do things with the franchise. So that's another thing right there. So I got the Lakers at 5 only because I think these other teams are a lot stronger, in my humble opinion. Number 4, the Minnesota Timberwolves. Depth and consistency will be key with this team. Let me pull their roster up real quick. I like getting guys like Bones Highland into the fold of things. They didn't really do too much to just draft a couple guys. Losing Alexander Walker would kind of hurt a little bit. But some of these younger guys they have on the roster gotta kind of, step up, in a sense. Mike Conley still there, but Rob Dillingham's got taking him a step forward to be that point guard of the future. Anthony Edwards, he got to continue his growth as well.
Mm-hmm.
So I like Joe Ingles, they got him to the fold. We'll see how much he does. But Gobert, Julius Randle, can they keep up the consistency for this team? That's the main thing. Nas Reed come off the bench. Can you keep that consistency up? So I like that. This team right here, the depth and stuff like that. We'll see how things shake out. So I got them in 4. 3, the Houston Rockets. How does Kevin Durant do in year 1? I got the Rockets because, yeah, they lost Fred VanVleet, but coaching, I know Durant's old, but coaching Durant, and remember, this team was a high seed without Durant last year.
That's true.
So I know Van Vliet's going to be missed, and this team could be down a few pegs in the standings because, Reed Shepard barely played for them last year. Now you got kind of someone throwing him into the mix. But I think Amin Thompson, he's going to show some more growth. Tari Eason, great play to have. Robbie Smith, hopefully taking a leap as a player. I'm curious how they're going to do the big man situation because they re-signed Steven Adams. They went signed Clint Capella, and you got Sogun down low. I won't say it's like a log jam, but I'm kind of curious how you're going to play all those guys like that. So that's one thing I kind of question. They're doing you got 3 solid caliber centers down low. How you going to divide the minutes up? But I think it's a solid team. I think they will do well. The point guard situation does concern me, in which I thought they'll go after someone like Chris Paul.
Mm-hmm.
That's like a 1-year rental. But then, he didn't. But I got them at number 3 just because of Ime Udoka's reputation, his success as a coach, and the growth of some of the other younger guys. So I got them number 3. 2, Denver Nuggets. Nikola Jokic still anchored the team, aiming for a 4th MVP, strong continuity, and playoff experience. I like what this team did in the offseason. Getting Valanciunas, Bruce Brown back in the mix and things. And then I think the main thing for me is Cameron Johnson.
Yeah.
Same production of Michael Porter Jr., but I think defensively, he's going to turn things around. At times, you had to hide, I won't say hide Michael Porter Jr., but you had to hide him. Now with Cameron Johnson in the mix, I think you can play more freely and stuff like that, do more switches. You got Aaron Gordon out there as well. So I just like what they did getting rid of Michael Porter Jr. I thought at times, Michael Porter Jr. should be more than what he presented himself in Denver. But I think he is going what he's going to be now in the league. Now to get somebody, more of a team player, more consistent, not worry about telling everybody's business on podcasts. I think now you kind of circle the wagons on that. Tim Hardaway Jr. in the mix, Julian Strawther taking another risk, Christian Braun taking another leap as well. So I like this team a lot. And you finally get Jokic to some good breathing room with Valanciunas, in the mix. And then Moses Brown, they signed. Maybe he's 6, maybe he doesn't. But, I think he'll be solid for this team as well. So I like what the Denver done. The coach, we'll see how that does for things. I still kind of bullish on Allen on that. We'll see how that works for them. But I got that number 2. Finally, number 1, the OKC Thunder, defending champs led by Shai Alexander, deep roster with elite young talent, Chet Holmgren, Jalen Williams, and heavy favorites to repeat. No surprise here. One of the better built rosters the past decade in the NBA. They still got draft picks to grow this roster.
Yes.
And to maybe make some other moves here and there. I think, I don't know where he ends up at. And I know they got plenty of scoring in OKC, but Malik Beasley is a name to keep an eye on. I know they got guys like Wallace and others right there, but I feel like they could use another 3-point scorer.
Mm-hmm.
Beasley can come in for cheap and be another guy for them. I would like that move for them. I doubt they will make that type of move, but I think they kind of need another shooter there. If not, maybe another solid big man. In this case, never Chet Holmgren goes down again. Him and Isaiah Hartenstein missed time last year. Do you trust the young guys behind those guys to fill in nicely for you? And I think that's when some of the draft picks come in. Like, could you use a nice veteran down low? Could you maybe move Joe Val when he's available? So if Isaiah Hartenstein's out, you got a nice young veteran, down low like Valanciunas to replace him. But this team is solid. No question, not too many questions about them. They did get taken to 7 by the Pacers. And I think at times they showed an inexperience in the finals like that, but they overcame the veteran coaching Rick Carlisle, and they won the first championship. Now the key thing is, can they keep this success up? Because like you mentioned, like Denver reloaded, Houston reloaded. You know, Minnesota stayed the same. The Lakers got DeAndre Ayton. Golden State got Al Horford. And then, like I mentioned about the playoffs, if they get matched up in a 1-8 matchup with San Antonio with Victor Wembanyama.
Yeah.
And then, you know, they sign big men like Kelly Olynyk and Luke Cornett. That's tough matchup right there. So those are my 15-1 rankings right there. Your thoughts on the rankings before we get off the air?
I think it's real good. Obviously, we were different with the Houston pick. Because KD is KD. Like I said, I definitely agree with that part. You know, I just think that leadership role, we'll see, you know, where that lies. But they were spot on for most of it. I think that the OKC is going to be tough for any team. You know, we talked about it a couple of years ago how this team was young. They was going to make that next move, and they have. But now they won that championship. Can this team come back and repeat? Now, granted, we'll see how that plays out. But I think that, you know, you building your list and me building mine is proof how tough the West is. You got teams all the way at the bottom, you know, at 10, 9, or 11 that can be higher on the eastern side of the NBA. So for me, I think this is one of the tougher sides for us both. But again, we do this every year, and there's always a team that surprises us every year, you know, on both sides. So the question is, what team is that going to be? Overall, like I think we, you know, kind of spot on with the top two teams in the West. We know that the Denver Nuggets and the OKC, I think, are the top two teams. I definitely think we agree on that.
Yeah, the West is going to be very interesting. And, you know, come next week, we'll give our, you know, title predictions, all that stuff, who makes the finals, all that good stuff next week. But, you know, some of the older teams, I'll focus on them real quick. You know, the Clippers, Warriors, you know, even the Kings, you know, how are they going to look throughout the season? If things don't go right for them, do they start selling off parts for the future? And with this new CBA and all this stuff in full swing, you know, why you gonna carry a high cap and be sucky? You know what I'm saying? So, you know, it's gonna be a great season. You know, because like somebody like Portland surprise and get an early run, like as we've seen some of these young teams the past couple of years do, like Memphis, OKC, Minnesota.
Mm-hmm.
Like we just look up one day in December. Oh damn, Portland Trailer plays second in the West. You know, could that happen? Good possibility. Could Zion, you know, come in and be that Larry Johnson type of clone and have the Pelicans play very well? Could be. You know, do the Lakers get off to a hot start, or do the Lakers get to a poor start and everybody's kind of questioning JJ Redick and whatnot? So a lot of questions in the West. You know, a lot of talking points we'll talk about for the rest of the year. But I think I'm really interested to see how the season goes, especially some of the young guys and the rookies and stuff like that. Ace Bailey, you know, Dylan Harper, you know, how they going to look out west. You know, Cooper Flagg, how is he going to do down in Dallas? You know, so a lot of questions around the league, and I think we're in for a very good season. You know, the Commissioner's Cup, it would be like a good halfway point, see where teams are at, and who's going to like kind of determine where things go for the rest of the year. But, you know, I don't see nobody eclipsing OKC yet. Denver got a good chance. Houston got a good chance. But other than that, I don't see nobody else eclipsing them right now. I'll let you have the last word.
I mean, I think that the biggest thing for me is OKC has all their pieces coming back. We talked about a couple years ago. This was a young team. All they really needed was that one veteran to come in and kind of lead them up that championship level. And we say that, but that doesn't necessarily mean it has to be this person that's a 9-time NBA Finals champ or anything. Alex Caruso came in and helped them lead the way. You know what I mean? And I think that it was good for them. They're going to continue to having that. Now the target is on their back. That's the difference. How do they respond to that? We talk about the Lakers. The Lakers are always going to have a target back, no matter who they have. The Spurs are always going to have a target on their back, no matter who they have. Now the Nuggets and OKC are feeling that. You know what I mean? Milwaukee, I think they're dealing with that as well. They won a championship a couple years ago, and now they're dealing with teams literally coming to beat them. So now we're going to see how OKC handles that, especially in the West. I think it's going to be pretty tough, but in SGA, I trust that this team is going to be pretty solid. They're built very well. They got these draft picks, so they do need something. Somebody getting hurt, possibly knock on wood. Somebody's not playing well. They got the picks in the way they can move and they can shuffle pieces around, still be competitive, and keep SGA. You know what I mean? So I like what OKC is doing. I really want to see Can Avery. That'd be very interesting again.
So we're gonna keep it here, ladies and gentlemen. We're gonna get championship predictions next week. So do tune in for that. D-Locke, how can people find you on social media?
You guys can find me at Black-813. I'm gonna tell y'all right now, it's pretty early, but I know we all fresh off a win, but the Bucks going to the Super Bowl. I literally say every time we go get a dub, we looking real good. So I definitely be talking about that. Let them know they can find you on the show's page.
Well, you can find me at Spawn4288. You can see me on the opposite side of things of the NFL, talking about my Titans just being ass, in the words of Cam Ward. So I'm that handle right there. Also, do follow the show at Fastbreak IESR. That's Fastbreak IESR. Basketball getting back in full swing of things. A lot of tweets coming out. Predictions next week. So do tune in for that. Also, do follow iSports Radio on all your social media feeds. X, Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, YouTube. We're everywhere. Give us a follow, give us a like, comment. If you like, you agree with us. If you don't agree with us, comment on our videos. Give us your predictions. I'd like to hear from y'all. The NBA season is going to be very fun. Lots to talk about. Long season ahead. New TV partners like we discussed earlier. So this season will get geared to be very nice this upcoming year. But this has been our show tonight, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for tuning in with us. Until then, next week, prediction time, MVP, championship, all that stuff. We'll talk to y'all next week. Peace.